I think being a woman in 2013 is very powerful. I feel very lucky that I have grown up in this century, knowing what my grandmothers and even mother have dealt with in their lifetimes.
For me, being a woman is the different roles that you play. You're born as a daughter, then you might be a sister, a niece, a granddaughter, one day perhaps a mother, a wife, a partner.
To me, being a woman is just this innate inner strength that we all have, and it just shows in how fearless we are and just being strong and beautiful.
As it is, the most inspirational woman in my life is my mom. Her generosity and how she kept saying in a house of 4 boys it was amazing. And she always made sure we were fed and happy. So it was just to see that much work for someone who doesn't need to.
My mom immigrated here from the Philippines when she was 20 with my father, and he was in the military, so she was here alone and had to really do things for herself and really adjust to the culture here. So what I admire most about her is her courage, her strength, and her positive attitude. And growing up, that was something that really she instilled in all of us. And she was very supportive of what I did, and I think has made a big difference in who I've become.
I'd like to say my wife is very inspirational in my life. My wife is Iman. She's Egyptian, and she's an artist, a photographer, a musician. She does crafting. She does everything, and she sings, and she's a great mom. And I'm thankful that she's in my life, and I'm thankful that she's in our son's life. And I definitely draw inspiration from her all the time. And so I never get a chance to say it enough or to give a shout out to her. So love you, Iman. You're inspirational to me.
I was part of a robotics program in high school, and it was always really inspiring to me to meet women who worked at places like BAE and see that they were able to succeed in this typically male-dominated employment. Some inspirational women in my life would definitely include my sister-in-law, who's a nuclear engineer for the Navy. So she definitely defeats that stereotype and holds her own not only within the Navy, but within the Navy's crew of engineers. So that's definitely a big inspiration to me.
One of the women that I look up to the most is Hillary Rodham Clinton, and seeing her as Secretary of State the last 4 years has inspired me a lot about what women can do in the world and the influence and the impact that they can have. And one of the things that she brought to the forefront was a women's council, and really looking at the role of women as heads of state in other nations and what we can do to further the growth of women and women leaders and young women as leaders in the United States.
So an inspirational woman in my life would be my mother, Idalia Castillo. And one thing that I admire about her is that she basically raised 2 twins by herself.
The most inspirational woman in my life was my mother. And, well, you can say that I grew up without a father. Only my mother, me and my sister, mostly.
I would like to tell you about a very remarkable woman in my life. She's my grandmother, and I think she's so special because she raised 4 little children, my 3 siblings and myself. It was very difficult for her to do this. She never got anything for this in return other than the fact that she could raise us. She was very successful, and I'm very thankful.
An inspirational woman in my life is my sister. She's 2.5 years older than me. She's adopted and sort of had a rough time in high school fitting in, but was still able to go to college. She got her degree and is now working with foster kids who are also adopted and facing the sort of same challenges that she did. So hopefully one day I will be able to be as successful as her, but until then I just look up to her.
We're the first group of women who've been told that we can legitimately do whatever we want, that we can be who we actually want to be. I think my mother's generation, the generation before, didn't necessarily have that opportunity or inspiration. So with it comes a lot of privileges, but also a lot of expectation and pressure. So while I do have the opportunity to pursue my dreams, at the same time, it's a lot to think about. And perhaps we haven't prepared ourselves entirely. I don't think anyone necessarily prepared me for this next period in my life where I have, financial independence, but at the same time, I'm thinking about what I want to do, who I am. Do I want to have a family, or do I want to work forever? If I do have a family, do I want to be away from my children? Do I want to stay with them?
I think that one of the biggest challenges that women have now is the need or the pressure they put on themselves to do it all, to have a family, to be a good wife, to have a career. I think that the idea of just being a mother is embarrassing to some women.
Women still have many, many challenges to face. I happen to have two daughters who have PhDs, and as they say it, they really do need a wife in their life. It is a challenge. I think women are not given enough time away from their work. I know that occasionally in academia they get an extra year or two for having a child, but it's not enough.
I think one of the biggest challenges for women today is that there's this misconception that the war is kind of over for women. Women have voting rights and they have equal job opportunities, and people don't really look at the subtler things and how stereotypes are affecting young girls growing up and how those affect their decisions as women later on. And I think feminism has kind of gone out of style for some people, and some people are scared to say, they're a feminist because there's these stereotypes that, feminists are, ugly or they're man haters, which just isn't true. And I think a lot of young girls are afraid to say, yes, I'm a feminist and I do believe in women's rights. And so I think women really need to stand up and, say, yes, I believe in feminism, and that is something that I feel strongly about.
And I think one of the challenges that women face today is that we're forgetting our history. And I think it's very important to remember that living here in America, we have made a lot of advancements in gender relations. And that as a history major here at UCSD, I see that many people tend to forget these, but that we need to continue to remind ourselves and count our blessings and see this as an opportunity to continue to advance as well.
I think one of the challenges that women face today is the continued objectification of women. You can see this in the way that men and women themselves evaluate womanhood, and how women continue to chase beauty as if it was a really important aspect of how they see themselves.
One of the biggest challenges I think that women face today is the perception of beauty and how ingrained it is in our culture because of the media and their portrayal of what they think is beautiful. And it's something that stays with girls when they're young, and it follows them into adulthood, and I think it creates this stigma where even women treat each other differently in regards to how they look. And in reality, not everyone looks a certain way, and I think that we need to start celebrating each other for our accomplishments and valuing talent over how somebody looks.
A lot of times just being aware of historical injustice toward women throughout the world or throughout our lifetimes even kind of gives us this temptation to think that our identity is now wrapped up in proving ourselves or in securing a sense of respect in places where we haven't been welcomed, and just seeing men as the enemy, or just any of these things I think are temptations for us as women, which is kind of a hidden challenge.
There's a lot we still need to do and to help change conceptions about female sexuality and the portrayals of women in film and the media and TV. I think really we need to still work on that so we can progress and become equal, because we're not there yet, but we can be.